After years of running from his past, a successful CEO uncovers a family secret that could shatter everything he's built. Will he find redemption, or will his greatest mistake haunt him forever? Alex Montgomery sat in his towering office, overlooking the sprawling city below. His fingers drummed on the polished desk, the rhythmic sound echoing through the silence. He had it all: wealth, power, respect. But there was one thing that Alex couldn't buy, the one thing that made him feel like a failure: a child. Alex had been married to Mary for nearly a decade. They had everything a couple could wish for: luxury, security, a beautiful home. But no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't have a child. They had consulted doctors, fertility specialists, even holistic healers, but nothing worked. The void left by their inability to conceive a child only seemed to widen with each passing year. It wasn't just the failed pregnancies and the endless medical bills. It was the emptiness, the void that loomed between him and Mary. They were drowning in their success, but still, something was missing. A family, their own flesh and blood. It felt like their love was slowly slipping away. One evening, after a particularly painful doctor's visit, Mary broke down. "Alex, why is this happening to us?" she sobbed, her tears staining the sheets. "What's wrong with us?" Alex couldn't answer. He had tried everything, but there was one thing he hadn't tried: a spiritualist. Alex was hesitant, but desperation clouded his judgment. After weeks of Mary's insistence, he reluctantly agreed to visit an old man who was rumored to have visions. They traveled to a secluded house on the outskirts of the city, a place where even the most skeptical had reported strange, unexplainable occurrences. The spiritualist, a man with graying hair and piercing eyes, greeted them with unsettling calmness. "I know why you're here," he said, without Alex uttering a word. "You've sought every solution, but what you don't know is that your past has come back to haunt you." Alex felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand. "My past?" he echoed, his voice shaky. The spiritualist nodded slowly, staring deep into his eyes. "You must go back to where it all began, or your curse will never lift." Alex was stunned. He had heard nothing about curses. This was supposed to be a simple consultation, not some mystical nonsense. But the old man's words continued to echo in his mind. You must find the woman you abandoned, the one who cursed you," the spiritualist said, "the one who had your child." Years ago, Alex had been a young man, a carefree wanderer, enjoying life without responsibility or guilt. He'd been overseas for business, where he had met Lena, a sweet and quiet woman from a small village. Their affair had been brief, but passionate. One night of reckless abandon led to a consequence Alex never expected. Lena was pregnant. But Alex, terrified and unwilling to face the responsibility, abandoned her. He fled back to his life, burying the memory deep, telling himself it was a mistake. He had no idea that Lena, heartbroken and alone, would place a curse on him, on their unborn child. "You will never have your own child until you face what you've done," Lena had whispered in a fit of desperation, her eyes full of pain. She had been pregnant with twins, identical twins, something that made the curse even more potent. But Alex hadn't known that. He never stayed to find out, and he had moved on, building a life with Mary, never once looking back. It was the spiritualist's words that haunted Alex more than anything else. "The curse will follow you until you atone." He had tried to ignore it at first, but after months of feeling the weight of his failed attempts at parenthood, he could no longer dismiss the possibility that there might be something to this curse. Alex hired investigators, spent countless hours sifting through records in the hopes of finding Lena, hoping to lift the curse that hung over him and his wife. But no leads ever came through. It was as if Lena and the twins had vanished from existence. Years passed, and Alex, growing more desperate by the day, made an unexpected decision. He would visit one of his company's overseas branches in Southeast Asia, a country far removed from his personal life, in disguise. Alex wasn't just the CEO anymore. He was a man who needed answers. He needed redemption. He decided to go undercover to monitor the coffee shop operations in person, away from the eyes of his corporate staff. But Alex had no idea that this trip would unravel a mystery so profound that it would change the course of his life forever. As Alex entered the local branch of his coffee chain, he noticed the man standing at the entrance. A security guard, tall, broad-shouldered, but it was the face that stopped him in his tracks. The man looked exactly like Alex. For a moment, Alex thought he was imagining things, but the resemblance was too strong to ignore. It wasn't just the physical features. There was something about the man's eyes, the way he carried himself. It felt like looking into a mirror, one that reflected a past Alex had tried so hard to forget. The guard, noticing Alex's gaze, smiled. "Can I help you, sir?" Are you from here?" Alex asked, his voice shaky, the world around him suddenly feeling small. "I've been working here for a few years now," the man replied, his voice deep and steady. Without thinking, Alex found himself asking the most bizarre question. "What's your name?" The guard tilted his head as though curious at the strange question. "Adam," he said. "Adam Chen." Alex's stomach dropped. Chen. It was her surname, Lena's surname. Alex was struggling to keep his composure, the weight of everything crashing down on him. The man standing in front of him, Adam, was the son he had abandoned, the child whose existence had been hidden from him for years. There were so many questions racing through his mind, so many things he didn't know, but most of all, there was an overwhelming sense of guilt. The man before him didn't recognize him, not yet, but Alex could feel it, the connection between them, the bond of father and son that had never been severed, even though Alex had severed it himself all those years ago. Just as the silence grew thick between them, the door to the cafe opened, and Alex's eyes instinctively turned toward it. He saw Lena, the woman he had abandoned, the woman who had cursed him in the past, the woman who had every right to hate him. But it wasn't just Lena. There was another figure beside her, another twin, the other son. Alex's heart skipped a beat as Ethan, Adam's twin brother, stepped into the cafe. He looked just like Adam, identical in every way. The sight of both of them together made Alex's stomach twist with the realization of how much time he had lost, how much pain he had caused. Lena's steps were measured, deliberate, but there was no mistaking the weight of years of unresolved hurt in the way she carried herself. She paused as she saw Alex, her eyes narrowing, as if she had known all along that this moment would come. The woman who had once been his everything, now standing before him as a stranger, and yet still the person he had wronged the most. Her eyes flicked over to Adam first, then to Ethan, before settling on Alex with an intensity that made his heart race. It was as if she had been waiting for this moment, her entire life prepared for this confrontation. "You've finally come, Alex," Lena said, her voice steady, but there was a sharp edge to it that made Alex's stomach turn. "I wondered when you would finally find the courage to face us." Alex opened his mouth, but the words wouldn't come. How could he explain the years of pain, the years of guilt? How could he make sense of the hell he had put them through? I don't know what to say." His voice cracked, and for a brief moment, he felt utterly lost. He had spent so long running from his mistakes, trying to bury them in his wealth and success. But standing here, with Lena and his sons before him, none of it mattered. Lena's gaze flicked to her sons, then back to Alex. There was a coldness in her eyes, but there was something else there too, a kind of tiredness that Alex had never expected to see. He had imagined this moment 1,000 times in his mind, but now that it was here, it felt more real and more painful than he could have ever imagined. "You've been wondering, haven't you?" Lena's voice cut through the silence. "Wondering why these two boys look so much like you." Alex's chest tightened. He wanted to speak, to say something, but the truth hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. There was no need for her to say it. He already knew. Adam and Ethan weren't just anyone. They were his sons, his twins, the same children he had abandoned, the same children he had cursed by his own neglect. Lena's voice softened slightly, her gaze unwavering. "You may have thought we disappeared, that you were rid of us, but here we are, your sons, and there's no escaping the truth." The word sons echoed in Alex's mind, shattering the remnants of his control. These were the children he had left behind, the children who had grown up without him, without the love and support of the father who should have been there. Alex swallowed hard, his throat dry, as he finally found his voice. He looked from Lena to Adam and Ethan, both of whom were staring at him, their faces guarded, unreadable. They had no idea who he was. To them, he was just some stranger who had walked into their lives. "Please, let me explain," Alex said, his voice trembling. "I've been searching for you all for so long. I've lost count. I've tried everything. I've spent years, decades, looking for you. But I didn't know where to turn anymore. I didn't know how to make things right." Lena's face remained impassive, but Alex could see the flicker of something in her eyes, a deep, quiet pain that mirrored his own. "I never meant to abandon you," he continued, his voice breaking. "I was young, reckless, and I made the worst mistake of my life. I ran. I thought I could move on, that I could forget what I had done. But I was wrong." Lena's gaze didn't soften. She was silent, her lips pressed into a firm line. But Alex could see the hurt there, the years of resentment that had been building in her heart. "I've been blessed with everything anyone could want. Wealth, success, a beautiful wife. But I've never been truly happy," Alex said, his voice barely above a whisper. "There's been this emptiness inside me, this pain, and I couldn't understand why. I tried everything, but nothing worked. Not until one day, I went to see a spiritualist." The room grew still as Alex's confession lingered in the air. His words felt like a weight he had been carrying for too long. "The spiritualist told me something I didn't expect. He told me I was cursed. He said that I couldn't have children because of the wrong I had done in my past. He said the curse would follow me until I made things right. And now I know why." Lena's eyes narrowed slightly, but she didn't interrupt him. She just watched him carefully, waiting for him to continue. "I didn't know it was you who had cursed me. I didn't know you had placed that curse on me. I thought it was just bad luck, just my own misfortune. But now, after everything, I realized the truth." Alex's chest heaved as he took a shaky breath, the words he had never dared to speak finally leaving his lips. I'm so sorry, Lena. I didn't know. I was a coward. I left you, and I left our children. I thought I could run away from what I had done, but I've spent my life miserable without ever understanding why." The silence that followed was suffocating. The words hung in the air, and Alex couldn't tell if he had said enough, if this was enough to atone for the pain he had caused. But he had to try. He had to make it right. "I'm sorry," Alex whispered again, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry for everything I did, for leaving you, for abandoning our sons. I was wrong. I was a coward, and I can never take that back, but I want to make it right. I want to be part of their lives now." Lena's expression remained unreadable. There was no immediate forgiveness, no easy answer, but Alex wasn't expecting it. He knew that forgiveness wasn't something that could be given so easily, especially after everything he had put them through. Adam stepped forward, his voice low but steady. "You want forgiveness?" he asked, his tone almost mocking. "You think an apology can fix what you've done to us, to our mother? You've been gone for so long, and now you just expect us to open our arms to you." Alex's heart shattered at the coldness in Adam's words, but he understood. He had no right to expect anything. "I don't expect anything from you," Alex said, his voice quiet but resolute. "But if you'll allow me, I want to try to make things right. I want to help you both. I want to be a part of your lives. I owe you that much. Please, let me make up for the years I wasted." For a long moment, there was silence. Then Adam's voice broke through again, softer this time. "You can't undo the past, Alex," he said. "But maybe, just maybe, you can make things right. One step at a time." Alex felt the weight of the room, the stares of his sons, the silence of his apology hanging thick in the air. The years of neglect, of distance, all coming to a head in this one crucial moment. He couldn't undo the past, but he could make a bold statement that would forever change the course of his future. Ethan stood with his arms crossed, still skeptical, while Adam remained silently observing, his expression unreadable. Lena's sharp gaze never left Alex, but there was a flicker of something else. Maybe it was hope, or maybe just resignation. But whatever it was enough to make Alex take a step forward. "Enough with the talking," Alex said, his voice steady but filled with resolve. "I know words won't fix what I've done. I can't undo the past, but I'm not going to sit here and beg for forgiveness." Lena's eyes narrowed. "What are you getting at, Alex?" Alex straightened up, his chest lifting as he prepared to make the most important announcement of his life. "I've been running my business for years, but it's always been empty without you two, without my family. I've decided to make a change, starting today." The room fell into a deep silence. Adam and Ethan exchanged glances, confusion on their faces. "You two," Alex continued, his voice loud and clear, "I'm appointing you as executive directors of this branch. Both of you." He pointed to Adam, then to Ethan. "From security guards to managers, you've earned this." Adam's jaw dropped, disbelief flashing across his face. Ethan blinked, his arms dropping to his sides as he processed the words. "Wait, what?" Adam finally managed to say, his voice tinged with a mix of surprise and skepticism. "Are you serious?" Alex's face softened, but there was no hesitation in his eyes. "I'm serious. I've spent years ignoring what matters most, but I've learned that family is the backbone of any business. You two have been here for so long, proving your worth every day. Now it's time for you to take control." Lena's eyes softened, a hint of surprise in her expression. Adam and Ethan were still processing the shock, their faces a mix of disbelief and something else. Maybe excitement, maybe fear, but it was undeniable. Victory was within their grasp. "I'm not going to pretend this fixes everything," Alex added, his voice low but firm. "But it's a start. You deserve more than what I gave you. I promise you both, from this day forward, I'll be a father to you. A real father. I will never walk away again." Adam and Ethan exchanged another look, the tension still palpable, but something shifted in their eyes. Ethan spoke first, his voice cautious but curious. "You really mean this, don't you?" Alex nodded. "Yes, I do. It's your time now. I'll support you. I'll back you up. Whatever you need." It had been a year since Alex's bold move to bring his sons into the fold of his company. A year filled with challenges, but also with progress. The transition from security guards to managers had been difficult for Adam and Ethan, but they had proven themselves. Under their leadership, the branches flourished, and the bond between them and Alex grew stronger. Lena, while not fully healed, had slowly come to accept the changes, and the family began to rebuild. Alex sat at his desk in the coffee shop's headquarters, his heart lighter than it had been in years. Adam and Ethan were running the show now, making decisions, driving the business forward. The company was thriving, and so was their family. But it wasn't just business that had changed. Late that evening, Mary, Alex's wife, entered the room, a soft smile on her face. Her eyes sparkled with joy, but there was a subtle hint of exhaustion in them. Alex stood as she walked toward him, his heart swelling with pride. "Alex," Mary said softly, her voice filled with emotion. "It's time." Alex's breath caught in his throat. "Time? What do you mean?" Mary grinned, a tear sliding down her cheek. "I'm having the babies, our babies." Alex's heart skipped a beat as the weight of her words hit him. He couldn't believe it. After years of longing, of trying and failing, it had finally happened. Mary was pregnant with twins. Tears welled up in Alex's eyes as he pulled Mary into his arms, a wave of emotion crashing over him. They had been through so much, endured so much pain, but this was the miracle they had been waiting for, a family. Later that night, as they sat together, their hands intertwined, Lena and the twins came over to visit. The air was different now, lighter, filled with laughter, even hope. Ethan and Adam had embraced their new roles as managers, and the company was thriving. But what truly mattered was the bond they were forming, the family that was being rebuilt piece by piece. As they gathered around the dinner table, Alex looked around at the faces of those he loved. It had taken years, but the curse was finally broken. The family that had once been torn apart was now whole again. A year ago, Alex would have never believed this moment possible. But here they were, stronger than ever, and the future looked brighter than he had ever imagined.
Subscribe and follow for more thrilling stories.